welcome to the University Life, the Ultimate Student Survival Guide. My name's Lewis, and there's something I've got to tell you guys. So a little while back, I made a video talking about how I was taking a year out to decide what I want to do in the future, give myself some time off to reflect on that, and whilst it's true that I am taking a year off, the reasons I've not quite been so transparent with you guys. I feel like to go forward with this channel, I need to be like completely open with you guys. So I'm just gonna warn you, we're gonna talk about a pretty depressing topic. Do you see where I'm going with it? Because you've seen the title of the video. Okay. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I have been struggling with depression. I've been clinically diagnosed with moderate depression, and I've been going through that for about the past year, so I thought I'd just talk about my experience. I guess by me sharing my experiences, it'll highlight that, depression is a thing amongst many university students, and you might not even know you have it. So I'm just gonna talk about my experiences, what sort of feelings that I go through, and whether you guys can relate to it. And ultimately, I want you guys to get the help necessary if you are struggling with the same things as me or have been in a similar situation. So I'm just gonna go from the start and see where this goes. So as you guys know, I've been doing medical science at Leeds for 2 years now. I guess the whole purpose of doing the course for me was in high school. I was dead set in my career path. I wanted to be a doctor. And so, everything was mapped out for me in terms of the future. So, in A-levels, it's very simple. You do biology, chemistry, and maths. It's a simple route. You don't really diverge from that much. When I didn't reach the grades and I knew I was doing medical science, I did question whether, I should give up at that point. I felt like a failure to my family and that sort of thing. And, I just felt like I wasn't capable of doing it. And I didn't even look at anything on the medical science course. I was just so dead set on medicine, and everyone chose medical science as the backup. Very quickly into the course, I started getting major doubts about whether this is actually something I wanted to do. Like I said, since high school, I never really questioned it. Everyone loved the idea so much, and so I was trying really hard to do well in this medical science course. But I started to struggle a lot. Money was an issue for me in first year. I actually remember I missed a lot of lectures to actually go to job interviews. That's how much I needed the money, really. I made the major mistake of choosing to go private with my student accommodation, because when you start university, you get your accommodation brochure, and you look through the options, and then you sort of set your preferences. I don't know, I think it's like 5 preferences or something like that. I didn't really like the whole roulette chance of it. I didn't want to end up in some really dossy place sharing a bathroom with 5 people. I didn't want that. I found one in the book that I really liked, which was Liberty Dock in Leeds, and so rather than risk it and go through the whole university accommodation procedure, I went directly to Liberty Dock, and that's how I got my accommodation. But I didn't realise by doing that, there's actually a separate block of flats for private people as opposed to the university halls. And so in my first year, I wasn't with any other first years in my flat. I was with third years, basically people who were graduating that year. As a result, I didn't really have anyone to share a house with the next year, because everyone else on the course, they'd already found their friends they were living with next year. So that sort of, I don't know, I guess I felt a bit isolated in that regard. I didn't get the same experience as everyone else in first year. So that combined with the money, I started to feel really down, and then I wasn't doing that great in my studies. Well, when I say I wasn't doing great, I wasn't on track for a first, which medicine's, it's an elitist course. They take the best of the best, and if you're not the best, then it's tough, you can't do it. So with all this in mind, I started to get really down, and I was really struggling. But the thing was, I never identified it as depression at the time. I just thought that, it's a really hard course, really intense course. Everyone must be going through the same thing as me, I'm just being a wimp. It's a tough course. I just need to deal with it. Fast forward to second year, and then it comes to Christmas of second year. I had a complete breakdown. I was having a lot of conversations with my parents, and I was this close to actually dropping out of university altogether. And so that's the period when I started talking to my personal tutor and confiding in her in sort of my behaviour, how I was feeling. And, you know, like I said, I thought I was just struggling as much as everyone else on the course. But then that's when the personal tutor actually, you know, they said to me, what you're going through is not normal. It got so bad to the point I remember actually lying in bed and doing nothing for 3 days straight. Like, when I say it now, of course that's not normal. That's not normal at all. Like, I mean, I wasn't sleeping very well at all. I was hardly eating. I wasn't really talking to anyone, so yeah. I'd tell her things that I'd do, like that I'd go periods where I'd just sit on my bed and stare at my wall for an hour for no reason whatsoever. Like, I'd almost go into a trance. It's really weird. Anyway, after talking to my personal tutor, she said, you know, you need to go see a doctor. So I went to the doctor thinking, you know, nothing of it, and I spoke to the doctor, and they, you know, they gave me some tests to do, sort of like, they do a test for depression and a test for anxiety. It's just sort of like rate 1 to 5, and you know, it's particular questions like how often do you worry in the week, and it's like, you know, once a week or once every day, that sort of thing. And from the scores that I got, and you know, talking to the doctor, they identified that I had depression. And as a result of that really rough time, I did end up failing 2 exams. So once I finished second year, I did actually, you know, pull myself together for the summer exams, and I passed all of those, which was great. But like I said, I failed those 2 exams in January, so as a result, I got mitigating circumstances to resit them in the January, like, well, this January now, as an external student. My initial idea of depression before I experienced it, I just thought, you know, you're sad all the time, you cry a lot, like that's what I thought depression was, but it turns out that that's not what it is at all. You know, depression affects people in all sorts of ways, so, you know, this is just my individual experience with it, but I find that the overriding emotion that you really feel, it's not happiness, it's not sadness, it's not anger, you just sort of feel like a nothingness. I don't know how else to explain it really. You know, life just goes by you and you just feel like you're standing still, really, like you don't feel anything, and it's really weird. But I've started to realize that what happens to me is I'll get very irritated, like really irritated, like just talking to me is enough for me to get annoyed with you, and you know, I don't want to talk to anyone at that point. And then as it builds up, like I say, it must be some sort of coping mechanism in my brain. It's sort of just my emotional switch, it just cuts off, and you know, I feel nothing. It gets to the point where it builds up so much that it reaches some sort of threshold and the floodgates just open and all the emotions just rush out all at once, and that's usually what ends up in sort of like a little breakdown for me. So yeah, I guess that's how I experience depression. I mean, it'll be different for other people. So I actually went through the course of antidepressants. That's the route I went down at the time. So in my situation, we thought, you know, whilst I didn't really want to go on the medication, it was sort of the only benefit that was available to me at the time in the short time frame that I had. So I went on the antidepressants. Whilst it gave me, you know, a big list of side effects, it did sort of calm the depression a bit. I'm not saying it got rid of it, but it definitely helped. It allowed me to actually think, which that's one of the main things that affects you with depression. You lose all form of motivation, you worry a lot, and yeah, you just, like I say, you have this emotional cutoff where, you know, you just don't care about anything. I actually saw this experiment with a rat where they sort of induced depression into the rat, and so it was like, it was running on a treadmill for I think it had like a stick of cheese, and it was like ooh, trying to run and get the cheese, and then once they induced the depression, the mouse, it just stopped running. And I feel that's sort of what depression does to you. Like, at the start, I was in denial. I didn't think that I had depression. I thought I was just being lazy. Like, because I couldn't motivate myself to do work, I thought I was just, you know, just trying to run away from my work and be lazy, but it wasn't the case at all. So, you know, speak to your parents. You know, if you can't speak to your parents, just speak to whoever you feel comfortable to confide into. So, personal tutor, best friend, course leader, you know, someone, a doctor, whatever. Just tell them what you're going through, and it'll become pretty apparent whether or not they feel like, you know, you're just going through a rough time, or whether they think, no, actually you really need help. I know it's a really difficult thing to actually talk to someone about it, but honestly, if you talk to someone, this big weight does get lifted off your shoulders in that sense, and you just know, you just find out that people are actually there for you if you need them, and it's a nice feeling to have. Just a final note, if you do think you have depression, you know, just I can't stress it enough, seek help, like talk to someone. That helps way more than any medication could, in my opinion. Whilst it quells the symptoms, it doesn't solve the underlying problem and the cause of your depression, so definitely seek counselling or just talk to someone, and I feel like that's going to help you out a lot. But anyway, I've rambled on way too long, so if you do like this video or you think it can help someone, you know, like it, share it with that person, and just get it out there, see if you can help someone out there, because if I can help just one person, that makes this video worth it, in my opinion. If you don't have anyone to talk to, or you feel like you can't talk to anyone, just leave a comment down here. You know, I'll try and talk to you as best I can, because you know, I really want to help you guys if you're going through something similar. If you're new, subscribe, join the union, and yeah, you'll see me hopefully very soon. So yeah, bye! Oh, actually, quick point. New camera. Not new camera. New microphone. It is now set up, so let me know if the quality is better than without the microphone. If you want to know what the quality is like without the microphone, just check the previous video. But yeah, anyway. Bye!